proceed with your next witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Call your next witness. Ma'am, please raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth to the best of your knowledge, so help you God? Please be seated. You may proceed.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you state your name, please?
It's Mary Mastrantonio.
And could you spell your last name?
Certainly. Mastrantonio.
I'm going to apologize before we even begin because I know I'll hatchet your name at some point today. All right, so is it all right if I call you Mary?
Yes, please.
Thank you. And what is your age?
50.
And where do you reside?
I live in Lansing, Illinois.
And you have a high school education from Florence Fractional South High School, correct?
That's correct.
And do you have any further education after that?
No, I don't.
Mary, you're the sister of one of the parties in this case, correct?
That's correct.
And you're the sister of Richard Plank, is that correct?
That's correct.
And isn't it true that your relationship with your brother, Richard Plank, is basically just business stuff?
That's correct.
And you began working for your brother, Rich Plank, in 2002, that's correct?
That is also correct.
And at that time in 2002, your brother's company was called Masonry, or Bulldog Masonry, correct?
That is correct.
Now the company has changed its name since then, correct?
Correct.
And the name change has gone from Bulldog Masonry, LLC, to Hawk, LLC, to Hawk, Inc. Isn't that true?
That's true.
And you worked for your brother up to 2007, correct?
Correct.
And Hawk is a masonry company, correct?
That's correct.
Up until the city center job, isn't it true that Hawk would only involved in jobs as a subcontractor?
Yes, that's correct.
And in fact, the city center job was the first time Hawk was going to be a general contractor, correct?
I believe so.
And in fact, your brother Richard Plank, the sole owner of City Center, this was going to be his first development as a developer, correct?
To my knowledge.
Now, on this particular job, City Center, Hawk was acting both as a general contractor and a subcontractor, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So Hawk was getting paid for the masonry work, correct?
Yes.
And Hawk was getting paid to oversee the project, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
The sworn construction statements were prepared by Hawk, correct?
That's correct.
In your role in preparing the sworn construction statements was just inputting the figures into the document, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
You had no say-so on who or what got paid, correct?
That is also correct.
You were not responsible for determining the amounts of the subcontractors, correct?
Correct.
Or any changes in those numbers, correct?
That is correct.
In fact, all the decisions on what numbers went into the city center draws came from either Rich or Joe.
Yes, I would go to them for any numbers that I would need to fill in on this one construction statement.
And they would write in the numbers,
Yes.
and then you would input them into the computer and send them to the title company, the bank, or whoever needed them.
Correct.
So all that decision making as to where the numbers would go and what would get paid would be solely on Joe or Rich.
That's correct.
Now, on occasion throughout this project, if the bank sent an email with a question or issue on a sworn construction statement, you would print those emails out and hand deliver them to either Joe or Rich, correct?
That's correct.
And since that time, your computer where all these emails were located, has blown up, right?
That is correct.
I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm not computer savvy.
Right. It's went black.
All right, that's a good definition, went black. So when your computer went black, you lost all your emails,
That's correct.
other than the ones that you personally handed to Joe or Rich, correct?
Yes, that would be correct.
So any emails that you got from the bank, the title company, or the inspecting architect that had issues, you would print them off and give them to those gentlemen.
Yes.
Now, in 2007, you stopped working for Hawk Masonry LLC. I just call it Hawk Masonry. Is that fair?
Okay. It's Hawk Inc., but yes.
Hawk Inc., okay. You stopped working for Hawk Inc., right?
That's correct.
In 2007, you began working for your brother's now ex-wife, Joanna Plank, correct?
Correct.
And the name of her company is Hawk Enterprises, correct?
That's correct.
You were never employed with City Center Complex LLC, correct?
No, I was not. That is correct.
And you were never paid by City Center
No.
Complex LLC, correct?
That's correct.
Is it fair to say the City Center Complex is the first project where you would have had to type in sworn construction statements for a general contractor?
Yes, that is correct.
And you look for, in doing that, you look for guidance from Joe and from Rich, correct?
Correct.
And sometimes you even ask the bank.
Yes, I did.
And sometimes you ask the title company.
Yes, I did.
And sometimes you ask First Indiana Construction.
I believe so.
And everyone was helpful. They got you answers, correct?
Yes.
Hey, ma'am, if you could go to the white book. You could go to 2A. Are you there, ma'am?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And that is an email from Joe Keel dated November 22nd, 2005 to Brian Speck. You see that?
I see that.
And there's two attachments there, right?
Yes.
And they're called application for payment, correct?
Yes.
All right, turn to the next page, page 17.
Okay.
Those aren't applications for payment, are they?
That's the the sworn construction statement.
All right, if you could go to 2B, page stamp 21.
Okay.
That's actually the application of payment, correct?
That's what it looks like.
Okay, so in this exhibit book, when there's an email from Joe to Brian dated November 22nd attaching the application of payments, what's in this book aren't the application of payments attached into, correct?
Well, if that's the name of, I don't know, I mean, how can I tell that?
All right, if you could go to 2B19. Drawing request 2 was approved by the inspecting architect, First Indiana, on December 1st, 2005. Is that correct?
That's what the email says, that's correct.
And if you could go to 2A34.
Okay.
Once it was approved on December 1st, 2005, isn't it true that Fifth Third deposited the funds at Tycor Title on December 21st, 2005, just 20 days later?
That's correct, according to this piece of paper.
You see that handwriting, need sworn construction statement? Is that your handwriting?
No?
Once it gets to the title company, isn't it the general contractor's responsibility to get all the lien waivers from the subcontractors and get the final sworn construction statement in the title company?
I believe so.
So once it's funded, it's now in the hands of the title company, correct? They had the money.
I'm going to object to foundation. I think this witness has testified that she knows the information that's been provided to her and she's not familiar with the additional process.
I just asked her if it was funded on the 21st and she said yes. So she knows the money's there.
Says she believes so.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Honor. So as of December 21, 2005, it now falls back on the general contractor to get the needed documents for the title company so they can disperse the funds.
Objection to foundation. Calls for speculation.
And if she knows,
I'll ask her this, Your Honor. You were involved in the funding process throughout this loan, or throughout this construction project, correct?
Just the sworn construction statements, putting them in on the Excel spreadsheets. I don't know what you mean by the funding process.
Okay, you were
I mean,
involved.
I read here that this was deposited. That's why I said I believe so, because it's stated right here that the funds were deposited.
And they were deposited on the 21st, correct?
According to this Fifth Third Bank letter.
Go to tab 2. Tab 2, which is big stamp 18, it states that Joe Keel executed the sworn construction statement on January 5, 2006.
Yes.
Is that the day it's funded? If you know.
I don't
Objection.
know.
Same objection.
if she knows.
Go to tab 2A35. It's an email address to you, correct?
That's correct.
And it's dated December 23rd, 2005, correct?
Correct.
And did you remember receiving that email?
It was a long time ago, but yes.
And it says in there that Hawk was over budget on closing charges, correct?
Yes.
And it says that that amount of over budget was $36,273, correct?
That's correct.
And it further says that Hawk was over budget $35,042 on permits, correct?
Does it say that?
Let me ask you this.
I don't recall. Does that say that in here?
Let me ask you this, ma'am, and I apologize. Does it say in the email that Hawk was over budget, or City Center was over budget, $62,502.67?
It says that in there. Does it say City Center, or is this Hawk LLC?
One, either City Center or Hawk, one of them were over budget that amount.
Okay.
Right? Did you print off this email?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and did you give it to Rich?
To Richard Joe.
Okay. Did you, at the end of it, says, let me know if you have any questions. Did anyone ever email back Brian saying that they thought that the information in this email was incorrect?
I don't recall.
Next, it shows that there's a $210,000 equity for the first building. You see that?
I see that.
Right below that in the email, it says that no additional equity will be needed until the start of building 2, correct?
Where does it say that?
The last paragraph. No additional equity will be required until the start of building 2, correct?
Correct.
Did anyone ever email back Brian and tell him as of December 23rd, 2005, that you guys had already started building 2, the second building?
I don't know that.
Did you?
I don't recall.
Did either Rich Plank or Joe ever tell you to email back Brian and tell him that the construction on the second building had already started on December 23rd, 2005?
I honestly don't recall that.
Did either Joe or Rich ever tell you to email back Brian and tell him that you already had the $210,000 of equity in for building number 1?
I don't recall. They possibly could have. I don't really recall. Whenever there was a problem, I would give them whatever emails I received, and then they would handle it. And if I had to respond, then they would tell me what to respond with.
Did you ever respond to this particular email?
I don't remember.
If you could go to the next page, Stan, page 44. Is that an email address to your email address?
Yes.
On Friday, December 23rd, just 2 days before Christmas in the afternoon, Brian tried to contact you to discuss his email earlier that day, correct?
I don't know if it was about the email. It just says that he tried calling. Tell him to pay out the funds.
Let me ask you this. That email on December 23rd from Brian to yourself, notified you that the funds were at the title company, and the title company could pay them out, correct?
That's correct.
Now, go to the next page, stand 45. Is this a response to Brian Speck's previous emails of December 23rd, 2005?
Yes, that looks like it is.
And you told him you still haven't received the funds, correct?
Correct?
And you asked him if there's anything more you could be done on your end.
That's correct.
All right. And asking if everything's cool with Phil. Who's Phil?
Bill, I think he was the man at the title company.
Phil Inarski?
Yes.
From Typor Title?
Yes, that's correct.
In that email, did you ever put in there that you weren't in agreement with Brian's December 23rd, 2005 email regarding the changes?
No.
Go to next page, stamp page 46. This is an email from you to who?
Looks like to Lily Nekrowowska, Fifth Third Bank.
And what was the purpose of that email?
I guess I was answering a question that she had asked me.
And you were making a change on the sworn construction statement at that point because you were over budget? Correct?
I don't know.
And you were also asking for guidance because you didn't know what to do with the retention, correct?
Yes.
Now go to base stamp page 47. Later that day, you called up and sent Lily a revised sworn construction statement.
Yes, it looks that way.
And it says, thanks, Lily. You see that?
Yes,
And underneath that, it says SCS 123005.
yes,
What is that what you named that particular document?
yes.
Okay, and what does SCS stand for?
Sworn construction statement.
Okay, and you had prepared it on December 30th, 2005?
Yes.
Now, could you go to the next email on page stamp 49?
Okay.
Did Lily from the bank send you an email on January 3rd, 2006, telling you that the new sworn with the changes that you just talked about over the phone to email over,
Yes,
and she would approve it?
I would assume.
Go to the next page, stamp 50.
Okay.
And then on January 3rd, 2006, you send it to Lily with the changes to comply with the construction agreements?
Yes, to comply with whatever they ask.
Well, did you understand at that point that you were over budget on certain line items?
No, I had no knowledge of any of what was going on.
All right. So you were just the conduit between Rich and Joe and the bank.
Yes,
Okay, you were just trying to do your best to get the information to whoever you.
that's correct.
In sworn construction statement 2 that was revised and finally approved after the revisions wasn't signed for January 5th, 2006, correct?
I don't know, is that in here?
Yeah. If you could go to, Exhibit 2. Page stamp 18, the first page. And the date is January 5th, 2006.
Yes,
That was the date that Rich would have signed off on it.
yes.
If you could go to the red book now, ma'am. You go to Exhibit 33. Tell me when you're there.
I'm there.
Okay. Did you prepare this document?
No, I
Exhibit
didn't.
33?
No, I did not.
Did you ever review this document?
I don't recall.
Have you ever seen this document?
I may have. I don't recall, yes. Yes.
Yes, you've seen it?
Yes, I have seen it, I recall that.
Do you recognize whose handwriting is on Exhibit 33?
Looks like Joanne Planks.
All the way through the document?
It looks maybe like Rachel Plank.
Is any of it Rich Plank's handwriting?
No.
I hate to do this, but we have to go back to the white binder.
Okay.
You remember during the request for draw number 3, having to break out various buildings and site work into different sworn construction statements?
I remember being asked for that, yes.
Okay. And did you do that?
I gave that information to Rich and Joe. I didn't do it myself. They broke it out and I put it on the spreadsheets for them.
And if you could go to, in the white book, 3A, date stamp 67.
Okay?
Are those you see the attachments to that email there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 attachments?
Yes?
Okay. Those are sent to the bank on January 18th, 2006, pursuant to your email on that date.
That's correct.
So they actually weren't sent to the bank on December 31st, 2005, correct?
That's correct.
And all the information on these sworns, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, would have been written up by either Rich or Joe, correct?
That's correct.
And that process for all those sworns for draw 4, 5, 6, and 7, all those numbers would have came from either Rich or Joe, correct?
That's correct.
You had no play in determining what the numbers were.
No, I did not.
Thank you.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have your white books already. I think we'll just use the book and not mess with the projector. Hi, Mary. Mary, you told Mr. Woodward you worked for Hawk.
That's correct.
Hawk Inc.
Yes.
And Hawk Inc. was Bulldog previously, correct?
That's correct.
It's the same masonry company.
That's correct.
And you don't work for Hawk Inc. any longer.
That is also correct.
Sorry, can I read this? Oh, it's like right in the middle of us. And you now work for Hawk Enterprises.
That's correct.
And why is it that you don't work for Hawk Inc. any longer?
Because they stopped doing business.
And you have a background in clerical,
Yes.
and that's the kind of work that you did for Hawk Inc., is that correct?
That's correct.
Is that the same kind of work that you now do for Hawk Enterprises?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you were aware that Hawk was working on the City Center project in 2005 and 2006, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And you were aware that Hawk was serving as the general contractor and the masonry provider.
That's correct.
But as far as the construction, what was going on with funding, subcontractors, were you involved in any of those details?
No, I was not.
And I think you told Mr. Woodward you didn't determine any of the numbers that were in any of the draws.
No, I did not.
You're really not the person to ask about those things, are you? Now, when you did work with the bank, was that sending materials on behalf of Rich or Joe?
That's correct.
And then, of course, receiving materials from the bank and providing them to Rich or Joe?
That's correct.
Okay. Were there times where you received questions or information from the bank that you took to Rich or Joe?
Yes.
Did the bank ask at times that things be changed that you had previously provided in sworn construction statements?
Yes.
And as far as you know, were Rich and Joe following up with the bank and answering any questions that they had?
Yes.
And were you trying your best to help them to work with the bank and accomplish that goal?
Yes,
So your role was to support them in getting the bank whatever information they needed or asked of you.
that's correct.
And did you, in general, thinking back, 2005 and early 2006, did you have any big disagreements or problems?
No, I did not. With Rich and Joe? Or with,
As far as with the bank and...
no, not at all.
So the project was being funded
Yes,
and you were playing your role in that by getting the information needed to the bank.
that's correct.
As far as you know, did you, Rich, and Joe always respond and always follow the instructions provided to you?
I'm going to object to the form of the question. She cannot testify as to how Rich or Joe responded. She could surely testify how she responded.
I think the question was, whatever they told her to do, she'd do. Is that what?
No, that wasn't the question.
The question
Why
was, as
don't
far as
rephrase
you
the
know.
question?
Sure.
As far as she knows.
As far as you know, Hawk City Center and yourself as someone who's working for Hawk, were you doing everything you could do to follow the bank's instructions and do whatever they asked of you?
Yes,
At some point, if we could go to the white book, tab 7A. Page 250 to 51.
okay.
Okay. According to this email on July 17th, did you send Phil Ignarski at Type or Title a sworn construction statement for Draw 7?
Yes,
And if you turn the page, is that the Draw 7 construction statement that you sent Phil?
yes,
Now, if you could go to page 258 in that same tab. Is this an email that you received on July 26th from Joanne Steiger?
yes,
And in that email, did she attach a revised sworn for Draw 7?
yes,
And does she say to you, please print out, have Rich sign, notarize, and fax me the signed, notarized sworn so that I can fund this draw?
that is correct.
And that email she sent you did in fact have a sworn construction statement that had been revised attached to it.
That is correct.
Okay. And if you turn the page to page 259, is that the sworn construction statement as she revised it that was provided to you with her email of July 26th?
Yes, it is.
Did you create or input the numbers into that revised sworn construction statement on page 259, or is that a document that you received from Ms. Steiger?
I did not revise that. That was a document from Ms. Steiger.
And now I think you also told Mr. Woodward at some point, this was later, your computer went kaput.
Yes, that's correct.
That was after you printed out all of the emails anyway, correct?
That's correct.
And that's in fact all of these emails that we all have.
That is correct.
So that really wasn't a problem from a record-keeping perspective, was it?
No.
I don't have any further questions.
Okay. Redirect, anything, Mr. Woodward?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. So just so I understand, Mary, is all the emails that we have here in this case, you printed off, gave to Rich or Joe, and they're part of the exhibits, correct?
That's correct.
All right. So if there's any email, it's right there. So just so we're clear then, any emails from Hawk, City Center, or yourself are all part of these exhibits.
I believe so.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Mary, just briefly, you haven't reviewed any of the records that the bank produced in this case, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so if there's additional emails or records contained in those documents, you would be familiar with them?
I wouldn't be.
Okay, but as far as you know, you printed off all of the emails you received from the bank?
Right, from my email.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Woodward, anything else?
No, Your Honor.
All right, ladies, ma'am, please remain seated. Jury may have some questions for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now is your time if you wish to ask any questions of this witness. Please write them down on the note paper and put them in the basket as the bailiff brings the basket around, and whether you have a question or not, please put a piece